Welcome back to the Rich Fritzky Show. It's great to have you with me. Here we go again. December, COVID-19 and pandemic alerts everywhere. And that 24-day long and steady and frenzied parade onto Christmas Day. Why Christmas Day, of course? With it lurking, I moved beyond the COVID song I sung Thanksgiving week to share just a few hopefully worthy thoughts and tales of ancient but telling memories of Christmases gone by. To begin, note as hard as it might be to believe that less is ultimately more. For when I think back over Christmases long past, I can actually recall celebrations of poverty rather than abundance. I can easily remember the wanting, even the having to give from one's own gifts to others, and the not getting that special gift asked for. Mine, believe it or not, was once a Civil War set, and with my dreaming of it came my mom's tears in not being able to deliver it for me. The dream, I realized even then, was simply not worth her tears. And so that which has been carried across the years is this simple truth, that what always and ever came in abundance was the unlimited love, compassion, and understanding that rendered whatever we received as great as if it had cost a fortune. For it is not in material, but in the Spirit and the gifts of the Spirit that Christmas truly comes. That said, in your preparation this season, why not say a prayer for those who are impoverished, for those whose hands are empty and have nothing to give, for those who can't yet somehow still will, and for all for whom want is keenly felt. Secondly, and obviously, Christmas is, though many take little or no note of it, the celebration of the birth of a babe born in a stable, who is Jesus Christ, the Son of God, who invites people to join him in a new covenant of love, mercy, and forgiveness. Much later in that spirit, St. Nicholas, a bishop of then Miralisia, picked up the cross, gave all he owned away, and came to be the one in whose image our Santa Claus was born. In England, old St. Nicholas became father, and our Washington Irving Americanized him, and C. Clement Moore took him to higher ground. And great artists like Thomas Nast and Hannes Sundblom, Koch, and Norman Rockwell especially, rendered him ever more endearing still. Nicholas transformed into our Santa Claus, and hundreds of stories and legends were fashioned. But when you peel it back o'er the ages, our Santa Claus is still good old St. Nick, who gave all he had to God and lived his life for that babe in the manger. And oh yes, Virginia, he lives, and he lives forever. It has never been about the material, or the dollar sign, or our materialistic Black Fridays, or our shopping till we drop, but rather about the light and the love and the grace that comes into our world on Christmas Day. And now, a few cherished memories. I begin with those of my priest uncles, Skip and Jack, then but young, handsome seminarians, carrying us downstairs after Santa arrived. It was Skip who I can clearly recall waking me, picking me up, carrying me out into our ever dimly lit hall with the 15-watt bulb, and then down the staircase. I still see the banister, the wonder and surprise and brightness of the gift-laden Christmas tree below. And there our Nana in an easy chair by the tree. To think that my mom's mom and two baby brothers ushered in Christmas with her and Dad, shared those drinks and warm hugs on a Christmas Eve and the wee hours of Christmas morn. What a thrill their presence in that wonderful old house heated with shovels of coal was to us. So closely held, so special. They rung in our Christmases for years. And while Skip died far too young, he left an indelible mark, and I treasure his chalice, which sits in my room. Jack also died young, but not before I enjoyed his friendship. And while it is their Christmas gifts given when we were but toddlers that I cue in on here. Truth is that their souls and spirits forever embraced and enveloped us. As a child, we always took a bath early on Christmas Eve. By 5 p.m. we were fed and in our new Christmas pajamas, ready to watch the early show on Channel 5. Always a Christmas Carol. I well remember leaving the room when old Jacob Marley began rattling those chains down in Scrooge's cellar. Suddenly, I'd just feel the urge to rush to my mom's side in the kitchen to so nobly offer my help. Oh, I did pay the price. One unforgettable year when she immediately asked me to retrieve 2 cans of brown gravy down in our dark and foreboding cellar. Down those crude wooden steps into the darkness I went, bravely fumbling for the string that would turn on the overhead 15-watt bulb. I half expected to be confronted by old Jacob Marley at any moment. She had sent me right down into the damn darkness where Marley roamed, right into the foreboding hell from which he came a-rattling those chains of his. And oh, how I wished that I had just stayed in the living room with my eyes safely closed. From then on, I made a personal vow to simply shut my eyes and cover my ears. Imagine poor me so scared on the very night the angels in the heavens proclaim, "Fear not, for we bring you tidings of great joy." As a child, the 5 and Dime or Lamston store on Main Street in Hackensack was magical. In mid-December, the whole tribe of us would descend upon it to do our Christmas shopping. Historically there, long before it opened, we would be among the first to meander into its gaily decorated winter wonderland, where we'd examine all of the shepherds and Marys and Santas and snowmen on display, as Bing Crosby's "It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas" played overhead. With little creative imagination, we'd usually return home with the same hairbrushes and aquavelvas that we did the year before, and walking back we'd take in the Main Street decor and see the huge Santa and flying reindeer on the roof of Packard's in the distance. At Packard's, by the way, you literally rode on a train through a magical snow-laden toyland to reach Santa, who gave us a candy cane, a Christmas coloring book, and a small box of what we called rock candy. Ours was no ordinary journey to the North Pole. I remember the wonder of it all, but most appropriately I also remember the trees and pine at Holy Trinity Church, and preparing for the Nativity and my once chance to say, "Behold, I bring you tidings of great joy, for unto you this day in the city of David is born a Savior, which is Christ the Lord." Hot off that once acclaimed performance, I decided with Sister Rose's permission in 8th grade to literally edit Dickens' A Christmas Carol as to render it a play, which I, grand as I was, would also cast, direct, and star in. All in our class had a part. We even made what were supposed to be costumes, and we really thought that we really were all that. But apparently the teachers and nuns thought otherwise, and one who was especially close to my mom called her the night before our auditorium production before the entire school. She said, "Rose, I know you probably work tomorrow, but no matter what, you just have to be here at 1 p.m. to see your son's A Christmas Carol. Believe me, you simply do not want to miss this. You just can't miss this." It wasn't until years later, when I had grown comfortable in my own skin, that she told me when the memory of it came up, and she just started to laugh. Now, I mean uncontrollably laugh. Finally getting control back, she said it well may have been the funniest thing she had ever seen in her life. So much for my thespian career. 2 houses down from 138 Poplar Avenue lived the Bednashes. Minnie was my mom's lifelong friend, and the youngest of her children was Jill, a fixture of sorts in our home when we were very young. Not a day passed by without Jill knocking on our back door, And on one memorable Christmas afternoon in the mid-60s, I was there to answer it. "Merry Christmas, Jill," I bellowed, but she immediately broke into tears, saying, "Well, it's not a very Merry Christmas for me." Turned out that her beloved bird, Queenie, had unfortunately decided to feast on a poinsettia plant, summarily dropping dead right into a bowl of chestnuts in the center of their dining room table. True story, chestnuts and all. Yes, indeed, surprises and pitfalls always come, and we can be so easily thrown off course and off center. Surprise is good and bad, and we are often challenged to keep our hands on the ship's wheel in the midst of the storm. We fight for equilibrium and balance, we struggle. Oh, I know how we struggle. But strength always cometh from heaven. All we need do is look up and pause. As my own brother Frank is struggling mightily today, I am reminded that he, fresh with his paper-out income, planned to buy our first live Christmas tree. I made the to-go cut and went with him, my older sister Joan, and older brother Bob, to a great and classic old tree lot on Main Street in Hackensack. I can still see the lights over the trees, and the old drum barrel with the fire roaring, still hear the carols playing, still taste the hot apple cider, and still remember walking slowly back down Poplar Avenue with it our balsam prize, as if to make it last when the snow began to fall. Oh, how magical a memory. As time went on, we came to have live trees in not only the living room, but also in every bedroom, and Frank's and my attic abode as well, where without heat we had the luxury of not having to toss our tree until cleaning up for Easter. And just in case you're wondering, yes, it was still fresh. As a husband and father, I so loved the 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. moment of quiet on a Christmas morn, when all was dark and done and all were asleep, and the gifts were bountifully displayed, with the lone light shining from a beautiful tree, and Alistair Sims, "When want is keenly felt and abundance rejoices," softly reverberating in the background. Ah, the peace would settle in then. There in that moment of triumph, Christmas came, and I thank God for his bounty and his blessing and for safeguarding and protecting all in our family. With pandemonium soon to break out, that was my moment, and I'd fight the exhaustion in order to hold on to it. I'd look in on the sleeping room where 10 or more would be piled as one in their soft and warm new Christmas pajamas. Or I'd stick a pillow under the heads of a friend or two of one of our gang who may have fallen asleep on the floor by the fireplace. Or I'd go outside on those rare but wonderful Christmases when snow actually began to fall at what was the perfect moment, and listen to its soft, easy, wonderful kiss. I pull the blanket up and better tuck in the only one more exhausted than me, my angel Maggie. This was my moment, all right, as hearts expectantly and lovingly beat around me. Christmas had come. My family, my Christmas. Abundant and overflowing. Finally, an old tale. When I was at Seton Hall Prep, I was once dropped by my dad and his carpool compatriots in the bowels of industrial Kearney by the old Western Electric plant at 6 a.m. in the morning. I'd wait for the then 165 bus from Jersey City out of Communipaw Avenue to take me to Penn Station in Newark. Since we started our journey at 5:30 a.m., my morning's treat before taking the 31 bus to South Orange and the Seton Hall campus was to get a corn muffin and a cup of coffee in the heart of Penn Station. There I could sit for a few minutes on one of the wooden benches, and there this homeless man started to crowd my space. At first I ignored and looked elsewhere, and when it appeared that he was marking me, I'd relocate to other benches, where he invariably followed. Finally, something clicked in mid-December, and I offered him what I said was just a cup of coffee. For a pleasant while, it then became 2 cups of coffee in the morning, seriously taxing my meager budget as we necessarily split the corn muffin. In his brokenness and poverty, I found an out-of-the-box friend with more wisdom than my teachers at the prep. "Oh, yes, Rich, my boy," he told me. "Some days it rains, and some days it pours, and some days the sky just opens up and shits all over you. But tomorrow, it's gonna be a bright, sunshiny day." And after 2 months or so, he was gone, just gone, and the truth is that the corn muffin never tasted quite as good anymore. He came into my life without invitation one Christmas season, and while I sprang for the coffee, he reached into his poverty to extol the riches of a profound streetwise wisdom and kindness. And then he just disappeared, as if those mean streets just suddenly collapsed around and claimed him. I now remember him as one of Mother Teresa's poorest of the poor, who was simply Christ, as she said, in the humblest of disguises. So please treat the difficult people in your life as you would like to be treated. Open yourselves wide at Christmas to the mysterious stranger in disguise who is just waiting to enlighten and to make you whole. To be worthy of Christmas, be Christmas, for that is just what my friend was. Next week, all about my newly released book, Unfading Light, the sustaining insight and inspiration of Abraham Lincoln. I'm blessed to have it. It was a 4-year labor of love, and I'll tell you all about it next week. Smile on your brothers and sisters this week. I'll see you next time.